Hello, Internet. It's me. It's Shannon. It's another episode of Sheepless Needles, vegan podcast, not about being vegan, where we do all sorts of kooky stuff. We talk about knitting, we talk about reading, we talk about gaming, we talk about bunnies, we talk about cats. There's something, oh my gosh, there's something really cute happening behind me. Okay, I don't know if you can see, but Maggie, well, first of all, one ear is has the zoomies. Maggie is asleep in the tube. Whoop. I could do this all day, you guys. Let's just take a moment and watch. Let's see what happens. See, the minute we start watching, they stop. What are you doing, bud? What are you doing? You hanging out with Maggie? Did you have the zoomies? You done? Okay. I know as soon as I turn around and move my chair, he's going to do something funny. Welcome to the podcast, guys. Listen, I'm going to be real. Normally, I'm cracking open a beer. I am not going to be cracking open a beer because I'm a little hungover. So, you know, grandma over here going through menopause does not really go out anymore. You know what? Sidebar, people. All right, I don't know what your age bracket is, but I just, hang in there. I'm 51, so I'm a Gen Xer. Whoa, I should have known that much quicker than I took to tell you. Okay, so I spent my teenage 20s, most of my 30s going out. Not all of my 30s, but a majority of my 30s. Early 30s, shall we say. And by going out, we would go to clubs, we would go dancing, we would go to bars. Typically, I did not start getting ready to go to said club, bar, or whatever until about 10 p.m. We would roll in, 11-ish, stay for last call, go get food and hang out at somebody's house, drink way more than any of us needed to. Had a blast, might I add. Listen, I'm not advocating for alcohol consumption. I'm just saying this is my youth. So anyway, I went ahead and went out last night, and I went out with someone who I love very much, who I still consider to be my best friend for life. And so she is one of the people that I used to go out with as a young person. So we go out, and I even warned her, I was like, dude, the event we want to see doesn't start until 10:50, and my ass is in bed by 9 p.m. I made it, you guys. I did it. I made it till 1 p.m. 1 a.m. Ooh, let me step that back. So what I want to know is, are you at a stage in life where you're still going out, and whether there's imbibing involved or not, you're having a good time with your friends, right? Late at night, getting into shenanigans, as they say. Are you at that stage? What kind of activities are you doing? How do you meet new people? I'm curious because the way we met new people, I think, is totally different than the way younger generations are meeting people. So anyway, I want to know what you're doing. Hey, listen, are you in your late 30s, early 40s, maybe starting a family? You're wanting to go out, but you actually can't because you've got like a baby, or, you have responsibilities. So you're trying to do the responsible things. So you're actually like jealous because your friends are still going out. Are you at that stage? How are you using your time that would have been spent on going out? Are you reading? Are you doing laundry? Are you cleaning? I feel like you're doing household things. And then if you're in your 40s and or up, and you're probably really not going out anymore, and when you do attempt to go out, how does your body react? Mine does not react well. What I am drinking today is I make cold brew coffee, and I put some oat milk in it, and then I had some Califia Farms mint chocolate chip creamer. Now listen, I know this combo is sounding sketchy, but let me just tell you that mint is coating my belly. It's feeling pretty good. I've also slammed down 4 pieces of toast with a healthy portion of Earth Balance, lubricating the system. Dudes, I can't hang like I used to. What is going on? So anyway, I went out last night. I have no idea where this was headed. I think I was just trying to tell you what I was drinking, and that's where we ended up. Yes. Okay. Hey, listen, are you new here? Have you seen this podcast? There's a hair. I am not crazy. I am crazy, but there was a hair. Are you new to this podcast? Let me introduce myself properly. I'm Shannon. I'm a little off the rails. I'm a little nutty. I kind of have my own way of doing things that may or may not work with said craft hobbies that I will be discussing. Sometimes they work out really well. Sometimes they don't work out at all. And, you know, I just share my journey of that, of the navigating the hobbies via kookiness. So anyway, if you are new, that's me. This is the podcast. Vegan for many, many, many years. Will be vegan till I'm croaking. And I have 2 cats, 3 bunnies. One ear is the bunny that you're seeing running around. Maggie is my cat back here in the tube. Oh, one ear is asleep by my feet, you guys. Maggie normally isn't in that tube, so this is phenomenal because I actually got that as a cat toy, not as a bunny toy, and the bunnies took it over. So I'm kind of glad to see her assert her authority, as they say. So anyway, this is the podcast. Sorry, not sorry. If you're returning, hey, it's me again. Hello, it's me. No. Okay, Todd Rundgren, you know what I'm saying. So normally, you know, we do have some consistency on this podcast to some degree. We will not have that today because I don't have alcohol. And I'm not saying I need alcohol to podcast. I'm just saying I'm a different podcaster when I'm dead sober. So you're welcome. What am I wearing, fine viewer? I am wearing my Lisa. Oh, hi, Max. You hop out of the tube. I'm wearing my Lisa Much Nightshade Shawl. You guys have seen this before. I love it. You guys, this is one of my better knits in terms of utility. I wear this all the time. And I don't know if it's because of the size, because it's a good size. It's not, why am I looking at the microphone? What am I doing? I need beer, and I'm not going to do that. So anyway, I don't know if it's the size because it's smaller. It's longer and not as wide. And I think it's obviously a neutral color palette, but color, I wear that kind of shit all the time. So I don't think it's the color palette. I actually think it's the size, and I think it's the weight of the yarn. I made this out of Knit Picks Cotton Linen, which is a DK weight, cotton linen blend. Cotton linens are my favorite. You will see that as a theme and something that I'm going to be talking about a little bit from now. I highly recommend cotton linen yarn if you are a little sketchy on linen and you just want to get it, start trying to work with it. I highly recommend cotton linen. And it doesn't have to be the Knit Picks cotton linen, but that happens to be my favorite one because it's so cushy and soft. But so anyway, that's what I'm wearing today. And you're probably wondering, Shannon, you know, why aren't you wearing your Jessie Maed Designs Open Edge tee? Because I know you finished that from, you know, the last podcast. So I'll just show you where I'm at on that. Oh, don't do that, Maggie's. Let me adjust some stuff here. This is going to be a little bit wonky because I got Maggie. You want to come up in my lap? You want to get up here? No, yes, maybe. Listen, the folks don't have all day. There she is. I'm wearing shorts and she's not declawed. So, okay, are you guys ready for the open edge tee. I'm not ready, but I'm assuming you guys are. I have to get some things together, so hang on. Gird your loins. Here's my open edge tee, you guys. I don't see the problem with that. Do you see the problem with that? There's no problem. You guys, what happened? Well, let me tell you what happened. Well, two things. Two influences in my life, for better or for worse. My sister and Mr. Stephen West. Now, here's the ongoing theme of this podcast as well, is my sister and Stephen West. So anyway, my sister, who is a fellow knitter, saw the pattern. I believe the pattern name, I think it's Shawl Smorgasbord. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It's a newer pattern, and I think he did a workshop on, I don't know, I think it was just a workshop on shawls, and I think this was one of the patterns that he walked you through during the workshop. Now, I have purchased 3 of his workshops. One was it's like a color basics one, which I'm going to be really honest with you. It was the first one that I saw that he offered, so I just grabbed it when it came out. Maggie, you want to say hi to everybody? Here, we're going this way. Ooh, slow motion cat. It was the first one that he offered. Because of my background kind of in art and things, I don't know that color like theory was something that I really needed, because I feel pretty confident when I do a palette. If you are somebody who wants to change kind of like palette theories and look at find a different way of looking at color values, transitions, and, all of that stuff, then it'd be worth it. But other than that, the other 2 I've gotten, which I really do recommend, are I got the Brioche Basics, and you guys, this girl can't brioche, but she can brioche when she watches this workshop. And then I got the Pinguano workshop, which I just started, and I highly recommend both of them. In fact, I almost would recommend any of his workshops. Just go through them and see if something piques your interest, because he puts videos in, he explains things, you get to save everything. The workshop is always there for you. He does put them on sale. So what I would recommend doing is waiting till one goes on sale. And many times when he offers a new one of the older ones will go on sale. So just if you have the budget for it and it's something that you want to do, I do recommend it. And the Pinguano is something that I am going to be knitting. It's something that I've wanted to knit literally from, I think, the first week that I picked back up my needles before the pandemic. So anyway, let me get back to this. I think this shawl, this is normally where I just drink because I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so this shawl was part of one of the last workshops. And she was like, "Oh, Shannon, that looks like fun." I was like, "It does, because it's Stephen West. It's going to be fun, you guys. If nothing else, if you have ever been like, okay, that shit's way too crazy for me, that color palette is, there's no way I'm doing that." All the shawls that I have knit, and I don't use his palettes. I kind of look at the shawl and I'm like, okay, this is where I'm going. This is where my head is going when I see this patterning. So that's kind of, I just kind of work that way. My sister is not as loud as I am here or here. And so she's a little bit more traditional, I would say. So we're both doing the shawl, and I'm going to, if it's okay with her, it better be okay with you, because I'm just going to do it whether it is or not. I'm going to have Steve put up photos while I'm just babbling here endlessly of both of our shawls so that you can see the difference in color palette choice, because hers is very neutral and they look drastically different. And so you can take a crazy pattern of his that you're like, that's just insane, and you can tone it down by the palette you pick. So one, don't be scared of that. And two, his shawls always look like they are technically difficult. They are not. Well, thus far, they are not. Um, it's your standard basic, you're knitting, you're purling, you're slipping, and you're yarning over. Those are the techniques you need to know. Um, you don't even really need to know how to do like a yarn over while you're purling, because he will explain it to you if you don't know how. Another example is like he'll put in a stitch that maybe you've never done before, like a crisscross stitch or, an eyelet stitch. He will walk you through continental and English how to do it. So like in the pattern of this shawl, there are just paragraphs of like, this is how you do this. So even if it seems like it's technically difficult, the building blocks of all of his work are the building blocks of basic knitting, which is knitting, purling, yarning over, slipping a stitch, and basically increasing. So there's nothing technically difficult about it. What it is the size of the project can be overwhelming. You just have to take it a section at a time. And do not force yourself, if you've never knit one of his shawls, do not force yourself into a timeline, because what I'm going to tell you about every single thing I've knit from him is that the end of the project, like let's say it's a shawl that has 8 sections in it, which would never happen. I think it'd probably be an odd number, but it does. Anyway, let's just say it has 8 sections. The last 2 sections will probably take as long to knit as the first 6 took altogether, because the stitch count, typically you work lengthwise. Like his Slipstravaganza, and I'll have Steve put up a photo of mine. I can't remember how many stitches were in that at the end, but I think it was over 900 a row. And that bind off took months off my life. So what I'm saying is, don't pressure yourself with a timeline. Do it, set it down, pick it back up so that you enjoy the joy of it, right? And the same is going to be said for this shawl. Let's see if we can go through the sections a little bit and show this to you without knocking it off my needles. And we'll kind of just, I won't go over, I want you guys to buy the pattern because it's not expensive, guys. It's under $10. So support a designer. Okay, so this is where you cast on, and I'm going to tell you that is a very unusual cast on. I have never done an I-tab or an I-cord cast on that has this hole here. And my sister and I actually knit via FaceTime, because she's in a different state than I am, the cast on down through the stripes in the beginning of this section here together. And I don't think I have laughed so hard while I was knitting, but this little, you guys, this hole, can you see it? There it is. Because neither of us had ever knit something by Mr. West that had this hole, she was like, I think it's meant so that you can hang the shawl from it, like on a hook. I was like, uh-huh, okay. I was like, yeah, but it was a very lengthy conversation, let's just say, about the size of the hole, the stretch of the hole, that ended up with me in BG land with How Deep Is Your Love? Let your mind go wherever it needs to go. But that was a 20-minute, I think I had, you know what I did? I was crying. I was laughing so hard. Steve, I have a photo. I'll get it on the desktop. Put the photo, the aftermath of the conversation, FaceTime with my sister. I had mascara down my face. I was laughing so hard. So anyway, that's the first section. That's where you cast on. And then you move on to this wonderful section. And, it's just growing, you guys. It grows, it grows, and grows. Now, this basket weave section here, all the way down to where I am now, which is another basket weave section, is going to be a repeat. And I think that repeat happens twice or 2 more times. So just to give you an idea, that repeat, look at it now, and imagine that repeat 2 more times. This thing is a beast. It's huge. It's really, really big. And I'm here for it. I love it. It is a fingering weight shawl. It's a 7-color shawl, but really, guys, you could hit your stash. I think some of the sections, if you blended or modeled the yarn, it would be really gorgeous. So I don't think it needs to be 7 separate colors if you don't want it to be. It's also not, just to be clear, it's not a 700-gram shawl. It's like some colors, like I think 2 of the colors you need close to 400 yards, but other colors you only need like 180. So I mean, like, it's not, it is a 7-color shawl, but it's not as that big, if that makes any sense. Let me show you the yarns I'm using. I am using the recommended needle size, which I believe was a US4. Let me just tell you, I'm just using a US4, so I don't know if that was recommended or not. I lied. So let's go through my yarns really quickly here. Numero uno, color A, is this, which I don't know. Now, you guys, I thought this was black, and you can quickly tell when you compare it. Ooh, sorry, microphone. When you compare it to the shawl, that is navy blue, and my dumbass didn't know that, but that's okay. So this is Twister Solid. This is, it's a cotton acrylic blend, and I don't have my glasses on, and I don't have them downstairs, so I can't really tell you. So maybe you can see it. There you go. That's my first color. This is by Hobbii, by the way, or Hobbii. I think it's Hobbii, but this is a great yarn. It is, yeah, it's a great yarn. I have no complaints about this. If you were on the fence on Twister Solids, don't be. All right, color number 2 is this. This is, hang on, I've got the second ball band of it. This is Lindy Chain. This is also by Knit Picks. This is a cotton linen blend. Heavier on the linen, I believe, but I might be incorrect. I can't see the band, so maybe you can. Oh, I don't even think it's there. Anyway, fingering weight, obviously. This colorway, it is showing to you guys a little gray, but I don't know if you can, it still looks gray. This is actually a plum gray, so it's more of a purpley tone. That's my second color. My third one, you guys. I love it so much. This color and my next color, which is buried underneath the behemoth of a shawl. Here we go. These are Terrapin Fiberworks, you guys. I've talked about Terrapin Fiberworks before. This is the Chesapeake base, the fingering weight. It's 100% organic cotton. It is soft. It is beautiful. It is so beautifully dyed, you guys. This is Heirloom Potato, and this is Rosemary. Both of these were part of the Garden Club, or the Farmers Club, the Farmers Garden Club. Sorry, Terrapin Fiberworks. I think it's the Garden Club, which comes out, like, she'll release the yarns the very first week of the month. You do the pre-order, and then they get shipped out by the end of the month. It is so worth it. There are different bases involved in the club. There are fingering weight bases, there are DK weight bases, there is tencel, there is cotton, there's cotton. I'm sure I'm missing something. So anyway, go check this out. Beautiful. So this is third color, fourth color. Fifth color. This is another Lindy Chain. So just so you can see the color difference there. This is actually called Violet, and it's reading like a blurple. It's really not blurple. It's not that blue. It is, oh, that's funny. That does look blurple. Yeah, this is Violet. So anyway, that is 5. 6, I'm going to just be honest, might be my least favorite choice I made for the shawl, but that's okay. I'm going to be fine with it. This is Knit Picks Comfy. And this is, you know what? I wish I could remember what Comfy was, if it was just acrylic or not, or if it's cotton. And I can't. Shoot. Guys, I can't even see to tell you. Okay. Huh. I don't know if it's on here or not. Oh my gosh, sorry. Yeah, I can't see. This is pretty grim pickings when I cannot even see that, you guys. So this is comfy. Um, it's a great yarn. I love it. It's the color. The colorway on this is Whisker. Um, it's just, I don't know, it's a little vanilla, and I thought it needed vanilla. Okay, so the seventh and the last color is the color that is what we're going to kind of just talk about a little bit, and I'm going to hold this back up. I'm backwards. There we go. Okay. So here, when you, when you guys, I'm loving this. When you guys look at this, obviously the one thing that sticks out, I mean, that hits you in the face is the gold, right? And the gold is yarn by Trailhead Yarns. It's their Fundy Tides lace weight base. So it's lace weight. I am holding it double just to give you a reference point. This lace weight had about 630 yards and 100 grams versus like a fingering weight, which would be like 400 to 430 or whatever, you know? So it's definitely smaller or thinner. So I'm holding it double, but you guys, I mean, come on, how can you not? So what had happened was originally, and this is what I find interesting. Happy accidents, guys. Always remember that sometimes the universe is like, no, it needs to be this way. All right, so when you're looking at this, I want you to imagine that you get down to this gold, but instead of gold, there is a true navy blue, because that's what that seventh color was. It was Comfy Planetarium, which is like a really deep tone, purpley greenish blue is the only way I can describe it, planetarium. And I did the basket weave section. It was beautiful. And I came down to this section underneath it, which is just like a thin stripe and garter. But there is a little bit of a setup row, I guess. So I'm doing the setup row. I get to the end of the setup row and my stitch count is off. And I'm like, how is my stitch count off? This is like a really straightforward row. And I could not figure it out. And I was like, okay, I'm going to tink back. And as I start to tink back, I can't find my mistake. Because usually I tink back, I'm like, oops, that should have been a knit, or, you know, whatever it is. I couldn't find it. I get all the way back to the very beginning. So I'm going down into the basket weave. I still can't figure it out. And I'm like looking, I'm like, my basket weave is off. So then I look and my basket weave was off and I was like, what have I done? And I couldn't figure it out. I was like, you know what? Part of the problem when I was tinking back, and keep in mind the setup row had yarn overs, it had some knit togethers, it had some slip knits, you know, whatever. There was a couple different things going on. As I was tinking that back, the row below, or the row, okay, this is the setup row in what I thought was black. I'm tinking back into a dark navy blue against this. You guys, I could not tell the difference between the two. So as I was tinking back, I was like, am I undoing a stitch in the wrong row? Like I could not tell what I was doing. And then I couldn't remember, okay, if I messed up the setup row and I don't know where the error is, and I think that I am tinking a knit two together, when in fact, what I'm looking at is not a knit two together. And do you see where I'm going with this? It was a nightmare. So I was like, you know what? I don't want to deal with this for the rest of the shawl, where if these two colors are going to be near each other, and one, you're not going to be able to visually tell the difference. And two, I don't want, my brain can't do that. So I was like, I'm just going to take out the basket weave and redo it. That's when the yellow came in. So one, never be afraid to scrap a section and start it over. Just be really diligent if you don't have a safety line in, that you go back. Well, let me put it this way. I was super cognitive of my rows and where I had a row that did not have anything else besides knits and purls and maybe a yarn over. Because once I start frogging back or, taking out a section that has, I don't want to say complicated, but more complicated things going on with repeats, I am more apt not to do it correctly. And I would rather tink back to a row that I know, hey, this is straight knitting, this is straight purling. I know exactly where I need to be. So that is why I ripped all the basket weave out instead of trying to get back to a point in the basket weave where I could figure out where the error was. So never be afraid to do that because it's doable. And I didn't have a safety line. So I'm not saying that's what you should do. Use your safety lines when you need to. Whew, okay, so I chose the gold. I'm holding it double, and every pattern that I knit, there's always going to be a section where a little bit of Shannon takes over. And so I forget who it was like, I love that you said Shanified in the last podcast. So yes, did I say podcast? What is happening? Beer. Okay, so there's a Shanified moment in this shawl, which I don't, it is what it is. Memories, you guys. This is the Barbara Streisand moment of the shawl. So when you are looking at the basket weave, and you will notice, you start here, you come down. Why is your basket weave ending all the way over there, Shannon? Why is it crooked? Because I was 2 stitches off and I didn't realize it. And once I realized it, I had 1 row left to go. And I was like, screw it. I don't even care. It's just going to look like the fabric is stretching in a weird direction. And I'm okay with that. So tip number, who knows which one we're on. User note. The one thing that always sticks out in my head is I don't know if it was an interview, if it was a video with Stephen West, someone asked him about, how do you know, one of the questions was like, how do you know when to keep knitting after an error or going back, scrapping it, like frogging and restarting? And he said 10%. He's like, if you can keep your errors under 10% of your work, no one will know. I was like, he's probably right when you think about the size of his work. So if you're on a row and you miss a stitch, like you don't add a yarn over, you miss a knit 2 together, dude, it's just the next row, throw that crap in, right? Like you can make up for it. If you catch the error, like if you're just knitting and you're like, you need to throw in a purl and you forgot and you're 5 stitches away, yeah, you can fix that really easily. But if you look down, you realize 5 rows back at the beginning of a section, you forgot, a yarn over. Dudes, I'm not sweating it. So I was not sweating the 2 stitch off basket weave, but it did make me giggle that I had tinked the whole perfect section back. Well, it wasn't perfect, but perfect to me. And then only to redo the same error again. However, my setup row for the next section was flawless and my stitch count was fine. So it ended up working well, but it just made me laugh. So I was like, I even tried not to shanify the pattern. And when I redid it, I redid the same shanification. So that's just the way it's meant to be for me, you guys. That's it. So anyway, those are the yarns that I picked for the shawl. I am really, really happy with it. I think the gold was a happy accident, and I think it was the right choice. I think it's like a foghorn, right? And for me, I think most of the stuff that I do, if I am more traditionally dressed, I'm probably going to be foghorning my makeup. And if I am like, more neutral in my face, my clothing is going to probably, something on me is going to have that effect. So I think it was the perfect choice for me, just unintentionally. So that's my Open Edge tee by Jessie Maed Design. You guys, I haven't even touched it. I have not even picked that tee back up. Yes, I will pick it back up. I will say, out of all the yarns I went over so far, honest to God, my favorites are the Terrapin Fiberworks. I am very impressed by Terrapin Fiberworks. And Trailhead yarns, you guys, Canadian vegan yarn. Really, really good stuff. In fact, if I had been knitting on the Open Edge tee by Jessie Maed Designs, you would have seen my other Trailhead yarn, which was a fingering weight. I think it's their Appalachian Trail. Oh my God, it's a dream. It's a dream to work with. However, Trailhead yarns, just note, it is not a dream to wind if you don't have a Swift. And many times, like what I do, like I don't know what your guys' setup is. So let's talk about this in the comments because I want to know your tips and tricks on this. I just have a ball winder. I attach it to my kitchen counter, and either my husband stands there, you know, with his with his arms like this, or I'll set out cans or bottles on the counter and I'll wrap the skein around it tightly, and then I'll just do it that way. And I typically don't have any problems, but every time I've tried to do that with Trailhead yarns, it has been a disaster. And I think I talked about the purple yarn, I don't even know what, a couple weeks ago, because that had a yarn barf situation in it that I think it was like 7 hours. It was awful. And I wasn't going to, and it was a one-off yarn. I was like, I've got to fix this. And then I don't know if you're like me, but if you have a yarn barf situation and it's really bad, you either toss it to the side, right? Like you have the cardigan that shall be not named that had an arm cut off of it. You have that moment. Rage knitting is what I like to call that, as opposed to like rage quitting D&D, rage knitting. We're going to get there. Anyway, in this case, like for me, when it happened, I was like, I will not let you get me down. You will not knock me out, yarn. I am going to solve this barf problem, and we are going to, and I did it. So, you know, patience is what I guess they call a virtue. Mine was just stubbornness of not giving up. Both get you to the same place, so pick your battle. So that's what I've been working on. Super happy. Again, tips about how you wind your yarn. In particular, if you are a Trailhead yarn user, I want to know how you do it and if you've had problems, or is it just me because I'm a moron? And listen, you're not going to hurt my feelings. I know I'm a little kooky and I know I'm a little bit of a moron, so it's fine. Let me know. I'm curious to see what projects we're all working on. Now, you know, we're in the summer, right? It's August. As if you live anywhere in the world in the middle of the heat wave, you'll know. And there aren't any of you that wouldn't be part of the heat wave. So, hi, I hope you're coming out of the heat wave. We had 2 days this week that were under 90 degrees. And I was very happy. There was one day I walked outside, you guys, it was 76 degrees and it wasn't humid. I was like, what planet am I on? What has happened? Am I dead? What? And then the next day it was like muggy as all hell. So anyway, with summer knitting, you know, when in the past I've sat outside and knit in the summer and I didn't have any problems. This summer has been way too humid. And I don't know about you, but like sweat and knitting do not mix for me. Like so I've been knitting inside, which isn't, you know, it's fine, but it does change my project choices because I think before I would choose projects that I was like, oh, I can do this outside. It won't bother me at all. Hats, you know, things like that. But sweaters, no, no, no. So as we go into the fall, you know, I've had so many, like when I look at my Ravelry page, which I do have one, go check it out. I have so many projects that are like to be started this year that I have not started. So let's backtrack and see if I can remember them all. I have there's a cowl that starts with a G. Can't remember, I can't even remember the name of it. Photo here. Have not started. Springbound mitts. Have not started. Witching hour. Have not started. Dustland sweater. Have not started. Oh, I'm sure there's more. So I'm like, okay, how am I planning the rest of my year for knitting, right? Because I need to have some sort of game plan, or what's going to happen is what's happened, where I'm like, I'm in the middle of trying to finish a tee and all of a sudden I'm knitting a shawl because squirrel, you know, that's how I roll. So you guys, here's what scares me. I know I'm going to do, and I say I'm not going to do it, but I know I'll end up doing it. I'm going to do the Stephen West knit along. Happens every fall. I want to say the pattern is released. No, I'm sorry. The suggestions for yarn and the idea of it are released either in October and then you start in November, or it's released in, yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it starts in November. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's a mystery knit along. Super fun. But what I have learned for myself, and other people are probably different. I've seen other podcasters who do the knit along, who knit other projects at the same time. Not this girl. And I tried to do that last year. No, I'm going to literally just do the knit along and see if I have better fare of getting it done before the end of the year. Because the shawl that we did last year was the shawlography, which, you guys, I can't even remember when I finished my turkey tail. That's its name. Turkey tail. Yeah. It was not by the end of the year, let's just say that. So I know that's coming up. So I'm almost worried I'm not going to have the shawl smorgasbord done in time. And I may not. And by the way, most of his shawls have like a predominant theme, right? Like something you're just doing a lot of. Like Slipstravaganza speaks for itself. You're slipping a lot of stitches, right? This one, I'm just going to flat out tell you, if you like yarning over and then knitting into it like 1, 3, 8, a gazillion times, this is the shawl for you, because this is the yarn over central that you never knew you needed. Just saying. So yeah, I'm a little worried that I may not have this done, and then I'm just rolling into the next knit along, which is probably going to be an uber complicated for my head shawl. So I'm going to try to bust this out. You guys, I have so much stuff that I'm just not getting done, and I feel like it is absolutely a commentary on where my head is. And I was having a conversation years ago with somebody who I worked with, and it was about when you turn on your computer, if you have a computer, what does your desktop look like? And mine is pretty clean and concise as it can be. Like my work one, you know, I have it. The woman in particular I was talking to, we had a fellow coworker who opened up her laptop, and when I tell you the amount of anxiety and stress I had, the entire desktop, the entire fucking thing was covered with shortcuts and icons. Covered. Like, how is that helping you? Because how are you able to find anything? And that is how her brain worked. And I was like, that's chaos. You are just like, and it made me sweat. Like I got armpit sweats. I was like, you have to close your laptop. Because I can't do that. I feel like my knitting craft hobby here is like her desktop, where there's too much going on, and I really need to like focus. Stop swirling the drain and dive in, and stop adding new shit, you know? And I can't, because then I see the squirrel, and then you got to add the squirrel. Are you asleep? Oh my God, he's sound asleep. Oh, look, Maggie's on the Bing bag, you guys. So anyway, yeah, how are you planning your fall projects? Are you planning them? Are you doing holiday knitting this year? I was thinking about it. I was like, no, I don't have the energy to holiday knit this year. I'm taking it off. I really am. I say that now. Remind me later when I start trying to do dishcloths on like 12/23. Okay, so hang on. Vibe check for hangover. Let's just talk about the difference between going to an adult bar. I don't want to say adult and children. That's not what I mean. By going to a bar that younger people, wow, I don't even want to say that. That's just generationally stupid. There's a big difference between having a cocktail that is made to appreciate the cocktail and having a cocktail that's made to get you drunk. Do you know what I'm saying? The cocktails that we had last night were the ones that were meant to make you drunk. And the first, it was called, what was it called? Hang on. It was so funny. A coral, I can't even say it. Coral. If you watch The Walking Dead, coral, you know where I'm going with that. Coral Castle. It was like cranberry, grapefruit, and mango. And I know it had vodka in it, but I don't know what else was in that. The first sip of it, I swear to God, was lighter fluid. And I looked right at my friend. I was like, how did we back in the day? That is what we drank in totality. Like that first swig was how the entire drinks were back in the day. Like you would order, there were a couple different drinks we would always get. We would get, cranberry and vodka, sea breezes that were it was literally just vodka. And then like, hey, here's a drop of cranberry juice for color. And I'm sorry, as I've gotten older, vodka is not something that I'm just drinking on the rocks. Like, oh, let me have a vodka straight. Like, no. Ugh. So anyway, yeah, the drinks last night. And then once you kind of were able to stir it and get stuff up from the bottom, coming back up, much more palatable. But again, I guess now when I should have just gone with beer. That would have been the smarter thing to do. But when I have a cocktail now, I am not, first of all, I never drink to get drunk anymore. I used to when I was younger. I just enjoy a well-made cocktail. Like I am a huge proponent of old fashions, of whiskey sours. Um, those are probably my two standbys. But again, like when I was up at my sister's, I wasn't feeling too well, so I actually really didn't drink. But he had a bottle, my sister's boyfriend had a bottle of Whistle Pig whiskey, bourbon. I don't know. He'll correct me in the comments, I'm sure. You guys, it was so good. I took a sip of it. I was like, that is the smoothest thing I have ever had. It was so stinking good. And again, not drinking to get drunk, but appreciating what it was. So last night, you guys, this lightweight only had 2 drinks, and my ass feels like I had 12. I feel like I had 12 drinks. Part of that might be the lack of sleep, but I'm just telling you, when I got up this morning, I was like, oh no. I can remember when I was younger and I'd tie one on. I'd get up the next morning and my lips would just be red. They'd be bright red. I got up this morning and they were definitely a flush shade of light red. And I was like, I didn't drink that much, but I just don't drink that much in general. And I know, PSA that I usually drink a beer on here. If I'm drinking a beer on here, that's the only thing I'm having for the day. Like I'm not hanging up on you guys and like drinking. So for me to have more than one, I'm having a good time. But 2, I guess I wasn't prepared for the aftermath. And man, I am just a lightweight and I can't hang, This grandma, listen, if you want to take this grandma out on the town, we need to be hitting like a cafeteria for the early bird special and then go to a cocktail hour that starts at like 6:30 and I'm good to go. We should do that. We should have a meetup at some point and we will go to like there's this place here called MCL Cafeteria. And I'm not saying it's for elderly people, but it's for elderly people. And yeah, very like cafeteria style, exactly what you think. Early bird special. They are lining up at 4:30 for their dinner. And I appreciate that. Okay, so I don't know what I'm talking about anymore, you guys. There's a segment that we like to call Literature for Your Knitature. So for those of us who knit and read, some of us knit and read at the same time. I am not one of those people. If I'm knitting, I'm knitting. If I'm reading, I'm reading. And I read. I am not opposed to audiobooks. And in fact, I probably going into the fall, if I'm going to be working on the shawl, I'm going to have to do audiobooks to be able to get through some of the things that I want to read. So anyway, I was reading a trilogy called the Farseer Trilogy by Robin Hobb. This is the 3rd and final book in the trilogy called Assassin's Quest. I did finally finish it, you guys. Highly recommend this series if you are a fantasy reader. And even if you haven't read fantasy, this might be a pretty good entry to fantasy. She's a really, really great writer. The story is fairly simple. It's a young man who is kind of dealing with the fact that he was kind of abandoned and then readopted by his uncle. His mom, he doesn't really know his mom. His father passes away. and he's kind of a black sheep of the family for several reasons. And he is he has something that he was born with called the wit, and the wit is basically a very instinctual relationship with animals where you create a bond with one particular animal and you become that animal and that animal becomes you, and you kind of coexist together in a very codependent relationship. And he does develop through the series, you know, that bond with, I think, 2 to 3 different animals. And I was super concerned that there were going to be things in here as a vegan that were going to really like upset me and just make me want to toss the book out a window, because that has happened. And I will say I made it through this series and that did not happen. There was something in the very first book that I was like crying about, but it turns out what I was, everything's okay when you get to that point. The only thing in the series that I'm going to tell you as a vegan is that is bothersome, but I somehow was able to overlook and separate myself from, and I do not know how when you hear what it is, but they're continually hunting. And what are they hunting? They're hunting rabbits, you guys. Now, she does not do graphic descriptions of the hunt that I remember, because I separated myself from it every time it came up. And when I say every time, in this book, it came up a lot. But there's not it's not graphic about how they kill the rabbit or anything like that. It'll be like, and we went out, he chased the rabbit, and then it'll be like he has the rabbit hanging out of his mouth. Like, do I want to know that? No. Did I need to know that? No, but I get it. But it wasn't gratuitous enough for me to have a bad reaction. So if that doesn't tell you anything, I don't know what does, because this girl can't even watch animated things about animals because I just start crying. So highly recommend. Check it out. I would say there are some series that I would read again. I don't know if I would read this again after. It's not a read again series to me, because once you know what's going on, you know what's going on, you can move forward. There are other series that I could reread and reread and reread, like The Hobbit and stuff like that. Like, you know what I mean? So worth it. I am now reading the Dragonlance trilogy, speaking of a repeat, because I have read the first Dragonlance book, which is like Dragons of Autumn or Autumns of Twilight. Steve, put a screenshot of whatever that first book, the Autumn book, is. This would be, I think, my second or third time reading this, because I keep forgetting what happened, and then I'll read something else and I want to go back to the Dragonlance series. I'm like, I don't remember what happened in the first book. So it's a great read. It's so much fun, you guys. It is a straight up fantasy, like D&D fantasy. And it's just a group of friends who split up for 5 years, come back together, and hijinks ensue. And hijinks are not good hijinks either. They're not shenanigans. It's like some serious hijinks. There are dragons, there are knights, there are goblins. It's got every fantasy trope in such a fun way. And it's an older book. I don't even know when the Dragonlance stuff started, but my husband read them when he was much younger. So it is a series that's been around for a long time. The reason why I want to reread Dragonlance and then keep going forward with the series is that Wizards of the Coast is releasing Dragonlance material sometime 2022, 2023. I believe it's going to be an adventure. I believe there's going to be a campaign setting book. It may be an all-in-one book where it's just one book. But I also think there's a movie that might be in the works. And it is not, to be clear, there is a D&D movie coming out called Honor of Thieves. Oh my God, you guys. I'm going to put a link in the show notes for the trailer. I am so excited for this. I can't even tell you. It is my D&D nerd dream. It looks it's so much fun. It kind of reminds me cadence-wise of like a Raiders of the Lost Ark type of thing. It is a heist movie. It is set in, D&D fantasy. So all the things that you want to be there are there. There are dragons. I don't know if there's any beholders. I don't think we saw beholders. There's a gelatinous cube. There's mimics. Chris Pine plays the lead. He's a bard. Michelle Rodriguez is in it. She is a barbarian. I am not going to remember the two other people, but one of the people is from Bridgerton, I think, or Bridgerton, however you say that. And he is, what is he? Is he a rogue? Shoot, I can't even remember. And then there's a tiefling druid in it who turns into an owlbear. Oh my God. You got Hugh Grant is in it. It's going to be so much fun. And the thing that I really love about it, the little geek in me, if you ever watched Freaks and Geeks or Bones, Sweets is in it. Not in it, I'm sorry. Wrote and directed it with another partner. So Jonathan, what is his name? Steve, I don't remember his name. Put a picture of Sweets up from Bones. You guys, when Sweets died in Bones, sorry, spoiler. If you haven't seen that yet, you're way behind the times. So I don't really think that's a spoiler, but I just loved him. And he just seems like such, Jonathan, what is, damn it, I don't remember his name. He just seems like such a nice guy. Anyway, I can't wait to see this. So anyway, D&D movie, what on earth was I talking about? Oh, Dragonlance. So the Dragonlance movie, I think, is something completely separate from it. I don't think it is a totally different thing than the movie that's coming out. So the movie is coming out 2023, The Honor of Thieves. So keep an eye. I will keep you posted on that. So that's why I'm rereading Dragonlance. What are you reading? What have you got going on? Now, let's be really frank about something. Do not put, well, it doesn't matter. I've read the comics. I have not started watching The Sandman yet because I'm waiting for Steve. I think we're going to start it tonight. Now, listen, I'm going to tell you something. When I was in college, this is like circa 1991, maybe 92. I can't even remember when. There were some people who I were friends with, who I hope I'm still friends with. I don't, or acquaintances, whatever, who loved the Sandman comic books. Now, Shannon was immature and didn't read comic books because they were comic books, right? Like, I didn't know comic books were anything other than like Superman because I didn't know anything about comic books. So they were reading these comic books. I was like, why is this such a big deal? And I just never read them. Fast forward, somehow when Steve and I started dating, and this would have been in like 1998, 99, we're having a conversation. We're going to a bookstore because that's where we spent most of our first dates, honestly, was at bookstores. And he's like, yeah, I need to get my issue 1 back of Sandman. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I traded my issue 1 Sandman, first release Sandman, for an acoustic guitar with this woman. I was like, well, what's the big, just get another copy. He's like, no, you don't understand. It was the first press, the first one. It's like, oh, okay. He's like, have you not read the Sandman? I was like, I've never read a comic book. He's like, you've never read a comic book? I didn't even know how to read a comic book, you guys. So he taught me how to read a comic book, which sounds ridiculous. I know. You guys, that comic book series, I wish, okay, Beto, I know you're not watching this. I wish I had listened to you and Vanessa, and I wish I had read those comics back then. And I didn't, so I apologize. So that just led me, I got through those comics. I tore through those comic books. So good. If you have never read a comic book and you were like me, where you like comic books, that's not literary. No, you're wrong. And they are. And go pick up a copy of Sandman and read it. So it is, to date, probably one of my favorite things that I have ever read. And it led me into the world of Neil Gaiman, which opened up other doors and things like that. So like, you know, in terms of books, I could reread almost any of his books at any time. The one I probably wouldn't reread because it made me so sad for a personal reason, not because of the book, was the Graveyard Book. I think I bawled my way through that. Yeah, I don't know if I could reread that. But anyway, Sandman came out on Netflix and it's getting great reviews, which I'm very happy about. I also truly appreciate that Neil Gaiman has come out on Twitter or Instagram or wherever it is, because there's a lot of people trolling it who don't like the choices that were made for casting, to which he responded, You know, Sandman is for everyone, and it was never meant to be this capsulized entity that wouldn't be able to stand the test of time, right? And I just, I guess that is more about people gatekeeping something that they don't have a right to gatekeep. Kind of like that whole Metallica Stranger Things issue that came up, where people were like, "Yeah, you don't know Metallica." It's like, you know what? Let people like what they like, and so what if a bunch of new people like something that you like and that no one knew about before you? You know, screw you. Art is for everyone. Art is for everyone. Let it go. And I know no one that's watching this is gatekeeping, so I'm preaching to the choir. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So anyway, if you are watching Sandman, what do you think? Leave it in the comments. I'm going to start watching tonight. I have been watching The Umbrella Academy, which I had not, I'd heard so much about it. I was like, I don't know. You guys, I like it. I do like it. First of all, Klaus, I'm just watching it for him. That actor, you guys, should have been in every, and I think I may have said this before. I may have said this on my last podcast. He should have been in every single Kenneth Branagh movie ever made. If they remake any of Kenneth Branagh's movies, he needs to be in every single one of them. He is so good. I'm so impressed by him. So impressed. And he's easy on the eyes. Good Lord. I mean, everybody in that's kind of easy on the eyes, actually. So yeah, I'm watching Umbrella Academy. I think I think I just started season 3. I like it. I like it. I love it. There are parts of it I love, and there are parts of it I'm like, okay. What I really, really like is the use of music in it, which I think is phenomenal. There was a whole Footloose thing going on that I was like, what is happening? Because I was knitting and all of a sudden I hear the and I was like, why is Footloose playing? I look at my iPad. I was like, they're literally having a dance off to Footloose. And how, if you can't support a dance off to Footloose, you are doing life wrong. You just are. Because if we can't solve the world with dance, come on. We can solve the world with dance. We can. Conveying emotion through movement. Let's go. Okay, so you guys, that's what I'm watching, what I'm going to watch, what I'm going to read. I think that's what we call a wrap. Get it? Oh my God, I keep hitting the mic. A wrap, you guys, a wrap. So, please enjoy yourself for the rest of this fine weekend. If you imbibed too much like your host here, take it easy. And as my sister says, hey, Shannon, lots of water, lots of grease. It's true. I agree. That's it, you guys. So, I don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. We will reassess, and maybe I won't. No, not maybe. I won't be hungover. The regular old Shannon will be back. You know, even Maggie. Look, even Maggie's like, "Bitch, you were up way too late, and now I got to sleep all day." And to which I say, Maggie, you sleep every day, all day long. But okay, you can use me as that excuse. And where's One Ear? I don't know where One Ear is. He's gallivanting. So from my house to yours, you know, please take care of yourself. Please take care of yourself so that you can love yourself. Because, you guys, we cannot take care of others and love others until we do that for ourselves. Come on. It's true. Have a little fun. Do a handstand, man. You know, do some things that you haven't done. First of all, maybe don't do the handstand. Maybe just, you know, do a forward fold. Sidebar note. This happens every time I try to sign off. It's kind of like the Midwestern goodbye where you spend 20 minutes in your driveway saying goodbye before you actually leave. Anyway, I'm taking a program on the Peloton app called Path to Inversion with Kira Michelle. Obviously, it's a path to like a handstand. Guys, I used to cartwheel all the time when I was a kid. I can't cartwheel anymore. I'm trying. Now listen, it's a 2-week program and I'm trying to get upside down. I'm supposed to be taking a class today. If I get upside down today, I'm taking a break. So anyway, try it. Try something you haven't done before. And you know what? If you don't succeed, don't worry about it. You try again. You're never going to have forward progress if you don't try. If you just don't even try, you're not even coming up to the line to start. Come on. If my 51-year-old ass can try to do headstands, handstands, shoulder stands, toes and nose against the wall and fall flat on my derriere, so can you. And have fun while I'm doing it. Because it is. It's fun. It's silly. And you know what? Life's short. None of us know how long we're going to be here, which is why you have to love yourself, which is why I want you to love yourself so you can love other people and go out and have fun and bring some joy into this world and show people that, you know, love really is all we need. We need love and lots of it. So go sow that seed. Look at me philosophizing. Podcasters, you've been shanified. Or viewers of said podcast, I don't know. I'll see you next time. Toodles!